Okay. Welcome to another live stream. Audio's getting a little loud there. Try to keep it background. Today is some sort of animation. What I've been messing with recently is this figure, but I think I'm going to take a break from this one just because I want to have a shorter day today. That's honestly what it is. And the act of filling in these solids for like 20 frames ends up taking an hour and a half or so to fill in all these small little sections. So what I might mess with is doing a larger face of some kind. Let's sketch out some ideas first. So here we have face. This is something I can sort of default to when I'm not sure what else to do, but I still want to do some sort of animation. Easy thing would be like changing the shape of it a bit. I really like messing with three dimension sort of things. Like if it's a transitional thing to where like this circle becomes pointy and then this expands and then continues to expand in shape number. Or we start off sort of as simple as possible, very angular, and then once you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Like going this route, it's simplified. I want maybe to have something that has a little bit more shape to it, a little bit more form, a little bit more going around with it. Which is why I almost always default to having something rotating. Because it's a way to have a simple way of conveying form. And that by having this little element here, when it turns and you get the nose and mouth giving it some degree of dimension, then it establishes a three-dimensional form. That's such a I don't know what I want to do to make it feel like it has 3 dimensions. I could work with a square figure and have it rotate, and that means that you get to have sort of 2-point perspective things happening. Could try to do something like this, but like make it more sort of perfect, slower moving, a little bit more exact with the speed of it. What if it's this rotation, but it's sort of 2 times over? One of them is more precise, more geometric. I might like sketch it out just as outlines first, rotating once, and then a second time that's exaggerated and more of like a smeary sort of guy. So like you have this slow, almost like mathematical, is that a word? It's more precise sort of movement. That's like just a slow turn, and then one that's like a whoop. And it might even have some follow through to where the face distorts. So like when it starts moving, it has a curve in this direction so that it looks like this edge is moving quickly, and then when it lands, it has some follow through where this edge sort of goes back and forth a little bit when it lands. Hello, Beatriz. Thanks for following Discord and joining up there. I'm trying to just find different pathways and means which I can remind people or tell people that I'm working on stuff. So thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Getting my bearings with adding another tool into my promotional collection of things and interacting with folks. So welcome. If you prefer something other than Beatriz or however I'm pronouncing your name, please let me know and I'll rectify that situation. I think what I decided to do today is I was sketching a selection of things and considering doing having shapes increase in number to where the fidelity gets larger and then it sort of tightens back up. Hello, Ohana. Welcome to the stream. But then I decided I wanted to work more on having some three-dimensional element to it, some sort of twisting bit, something that shows form rather than just line. And so what I think I'm going to focus in on is having a square guy rotating like a cube, which can give it some dimensionality. It sort of has to... Beatrice? Cool. But this is sort of boring if it's just the one version of the movement, but I think that one also has a really nice feel to it. Nice, like you can just sort of feel the shape shifting more directly. What I might end up doing is sketching out like a reference initial form. Anyway, so having this like a slow sort of turn that gives you a sense of the form. But I want to also have some more cartoonish movement added to it as well. And so I think I'm going to do sort of two rotations. One being just a quarter turn that's smooth and pretty consistent, and you have that perspective exaggeration you have like right here. And then a second one that's more cartoonish and has something of like a smear sort of bit and some follow through and makes it look a little bit softer, more dynamic. So I think that's what my plan is today. So I think the easiest thing to start off might actually be doing a thing where I establish a general size shape that's square. That's easier to do here on this grid that I have. So concept-wise, whenever you have a cube that's rotating, the furthest away something will be when it's in this middle point, this middle line. When that corner is closest to you will be here, which means that if you're trying to exaggerate the form, say this corner is there. Going to establish this as sort of the furthest outline. And down here is the furthest back. I'm just following this grid that I have, which has it every quarter inch. This isn't the only way to do this sort of thing. This is just how I'm concepting it out right now. And this isn't the most realistic form of movement for this, but it is a form of movement for it. So I'm gonna come back in with this thinner guy to mark my top edge, general bottom edge, general top. This is just a reference point for me. This doesn't have to be exact. This is just a general bit. And then I'm going to come in with my brush and ink. I might actually grab a new brush. This one was acting up a bit, and I have 60 of these sort of mid-sized brushes that I ordered recently for about a little less than $20. But they're a little inconsistent from one brush to the next. It's good to sort of test it out. Right now I'm just making a reference sort of frame. It's not the most official way to go about this, but it's not a terrible way to go about it. If you have any questions while I'm animating, feel free to throw them out there. I'll do my best to catch that they're in there. Sometimes I get distracted while working to a degree that I lose track of things. It's just sort of a grid of sorts. I think what I'm going to do is animate the square and then come back in and add the face. Maybe I'll... Concept-wise, if I want to have this have a little bit more dimension, I have to have the nose sort of stick out at some point, so I'm probably going to end up doing this just frame by frame. But... and then... let's make the face on here. I am recording, just double checking that fact. Yep, cool. This will probably end up taking longer than I intend for it to, but filling in will be pretty easy. So, let's just start into it. This might end up eating up a few more frames or pieces of paper than I intend to, but that's alright. Cut this in just a little bit tighter. Brighten up my screen for my own viewing thing. So first things first, I'm just going to come through and copy this over. And for the sake of better consistency, I'll be referencing back to this first reference frame whenever I start things that are more directly related. So if there are elements that are the same on this first one, then what I'll do is I'll use this back one so that I have consistency, because if I start to reference this one, see how I've made like some spots are inconsistent. Those start to become more exaggerated if you repeatedly reference a new thing. It's a slight change over time, which can be interesting if it's intentional, but if it's unintentional and you're trying to get a seamless loop, it doesn't work super well. When you have those changes that become more exaggerated, it's like if you have a small bump, it might not be that much, but if you then draw something on top of that bump and on top of that bump and on top of that bump over and over and over again, where it starts to deform in odd ways. So if you are doing what I'm doing, where you have a completely new still for every frame, you don't directly like copy and paste something digitally, it's better to reference the initial bit. That makes sense? Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, this is frame 1. So with these lines that I have up here and down here, as something starts to turn, if you're thinking about a cube, do I have anything that is a simple sort of cube, rectangle, or something? Oh, I have actually literally just a cube. I forgot. I welded this in college. Didn't do a great job, but it's a cube. We'll need to put this back here so that these don't fall. Okay, so if you have a cube, let's see how you're looking at this. You see, perspective-wise, this back edge is as small as it will ever be when you start turning here, where it's visible now. As it starts to rotate, it gets larger as it moves towards you, and the closest that it ever is to your perspective is right about midway. So see how exaggerated these angles are now? That's what I'm trying to have here. So immediately you'll have, when this starts to turn, you'll have this be just a little bit larger than it is when it's flat directly towards the camera, or the viewer, or whatever you want to call it. And this edge back here is the smallest it will be. And you can exaggerate that a bit. And so what I have here as these reference marks will be over the act of this face turning. This edge will make its way towards this point and then back to this point. This edge will more quickly make its transition from this point to this point. But it'll be a more exaggerated perspective initially. So, as I start to turn this, what's going to happen is all of these elements are going to move up slightly, and these are going to move down a little bit more drastically, faster. So this point will just start to move down here. This one will start to move up here. We'll establish this line. This needs to move just a little bit. And this starts to move a little bit over here. And it's just a little push off the edge. Howdy. This is the emote is perfect for today's thing. Today messing with trying to do more of a square movement. One where it's a cube rotating. So I'm getting some 3D perspective going. This will be a little bit exaggerated. This is right about the midway point, so it's not. I have to be aware of the fact that I want to have this have a sort of 3D element to it on the face as well, which means I got to sort of poke it out a little. Let's see. Most exaggerated there, and let's start to. This might be that I actually do this twice, I don't know. Because I'm having a little bit of trouble with doing the cube and the face simultaneously, so I'm gonna actually do that. I think I'm gonna do that. It'll be faster and easier. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna do this cube and then I'm gonna come back and add the face after the fact. But I'm gonna have to trace it. But it will make it a better and easier experience. off-topic chat. Should really be more exaggerated. So. I do have Discord notifications on because I don't have enough people. Well, right now I have it running, my desktop's chaotic, but I have it turned on because I don't have much going on Discord. So I'll get a buzz if you message on Discord while I'm on here. I might exaggerate this further. Today I am rotating a cube sort of form. And I'm doing it 2 quarter turns in 2 different ways. So right now I started doing this with the face at the same time, and I was struggling a little bit with it. I was finding that I was not concepting or doing it all correct, and so I decided to switch it up. Still feels like maybe it's too exaggerated in this middle bit. I don't know. It'll have a look to it, but I need to play with this a little. I'm having some perspective doesn't seem quite right. It's too exaggerated. Yeah, this needs to poke out. That's my issue. Right? Yeah, okay. That's what my issue is. Okay. Let's go over from the start again. I need to have these things move outward. Because these aren't equally distant from this middle portion. I'm not dealing with a circle, I'm dealing with a square, which means that as this rotates, this back edge is getting further from this middle axis. That's why it's looking so not great. I can keep the first one. The second one, it starts to move forward. Gets a little bit past that mark. And this one starts to move outward. As does this one. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it. Now you can use what's the emote? You can use this guy. This is the new O2. Okay. This looks a lot better. I figured out what I was doing wrong. So before I was trying to treat it like all of the corners were equidistant from the middle axis. Now that's not true because it's a square. So if you're rotating, you're having these things move further away perspective-wise. Have I subscribed to yours for this month? I don't recall. At some point, I've subscribed to Zolix using the Prime thing. Okay. Just doing a psa. Thank you, Beatrice, for being the first subscriber that's not a mod. I don't know personally and haven't watched their dog. Well, that means that you're making even more of an effort. I appreciate you subscribing. You're the first... I can say friend. Oh. Yeah, you're the first subscriber that's not... it's not Zalek. So, thank you. You the first. Oh, thank you. Well, they're all saying first. You're within the first 3. I don't know why you all have the first badge, but appreciate it. Thank you, Jonathan. I got a shared name with you. I don't go by it, but Jonathan is in my name. This is a reference one, so I can... get in all the faces. It's looking a bit better. This is still a little awkward, but it's better. 4, let's get to number 5. Right now I'm just... now I do have to make new emotes. Any suggestions or wants on emotes? My default was making just the square face dude because that made sense. Any wants on that though for anyone? That might encourage you to subscribe, or that you would like because you are subscribed. Or not. Yeah, you're subscribed. Not. That's straight up. I can do a tape flip. I can make a little tape of all things that way. Round guy? Well, I can do a few. I can try and make a tape emote and practice pixel art things. And make a round guy as well. Round guy makes sense. Square was just filling out the entire area, but round guy sounds good. I can make a stream out making an emote or whatever. I haven't done... most of the pixel art that I've done has been more exaggerated sort of things. Things that aren't so much smooth looking. They tend to be a little bit blockier because I like things that are what they are, so to speak. So when I see pixel art, I'm like, that looks very smooth, and I'm like, oh, it's made out of pixels. That's impressive. But I like to do things that are like very obviously pixely. So like limited colors, using web safe colors is another thing that I tend to do. Which limits your palette. Stuff like that. Okay, now let's get this center guy. In my mind, I'm like, I can only stream animation, that's it. But I can stream other stuff too. I can also stream games if anyone has that curiosity. That's just like a messing around with it. I streamed Animal Crossing to test stuff for a minute. It went fine. Zolok watched a little bit of that, but that was mostly just like a general test. Just do it. Just start streaming at some point of playing games. It would be like Animal Crossing is sort of in the wheelhouse. You have more creative things, but I want to try and play Wolfenstein. It would be funny to me if that's like my stream as I go from like mellow, understated, sort of slow form traditional animation to violent, like alternate history Europe first person shooter. I know it can be whatever I want to be, but I also like to curate and respect my audience and their expectations. Especially now that I might actually get some money out of this. Let's see. Origami, it's hard to get it at the resolution of an emote because it only goes up to like, yeah, games wouldn't be the thing there. But like when I did the other one, when I did Animal Crossing, it popped off at a different time. Different time of day. Can make a more of the thing of like trace loops after dark. It's hard to get the deep. I could do like a basic origami crane or something like that, but to actually get the faces clearly on the emote, it would be a little bit more difficult to convey that with, I think it was like, I forget the resolution, it's like 112 or something, it's pretty small. And you also like have to do it at 56 and something else. Oh, 7. But I can talk about pixel art things, and pixel art has interesting stuff to it because it's another thing that there's a lot of art just in general that isn't super intuitive. Like what you think is what you should do isn't what it gets understood as. If that makes sense. some point I could do portrait or pet portrait or something like that. That's too tall. I got options. But it seems like doing a Discord thing was a practical thing to do as far as engaging some folks potentially. So I'm glad I went for it. I don't think that person who suggested it is watching currently, but thanks, Sexy Sustainability, for suggesting that. Might come back in here and actually add a few frames. It's hard to average out the speed of this sort of thing. I was hoping that would be, because right now it's like sort of, oh, thank you. This is part of a shirt series. I have some on my website. Well, I do it updated as I go along. So take a photo of it and then print a shirt. Wait, can I do this as a video? TLC video, so I don't mess with that right now. Okay, but I do have a number of these shirts happening. I don't want to mess with the process of getting a video showing on here right at this moment, so. But appreciate it. Here, so I will just send you a link if you want to check it out. I spelled store wrong. Other apparel. Here's the most recent one. Of the shirts. This is sort of the result of me finding out about direct-to-garment printing and how easy it is. Decent printing quality sort of stuff. Got darker outside. Guess there's a cloud coming through. I'm gonna try and do like one more. And now come back in and maybe add some stuff. And then 11 would just be starting back over, but I don't know, this one's not as bad as this, but this one gets to be replaced. Now one straight what it is. So now I get to do this in a slightly more convoluted, slightly more difficult way, but I'll do it so I get this right. So now I have this form of the general shape. Now I need to sort of apply this face to it as it is moving here, which this is like a perfect straight on. As this turns, this will be slightly off the corner. If the idea is that it is three-dimensionally applied or something. No, no, this is 3. These are just reference cube bits. No, it's great if we get that mark on there. Dun, 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 dun. Rock, rock, planet rock, goes up, rock, rock, planet rock, goes up, rock, rock, planet rock. Got a hair in there. I probably could have done this. Oh yeah, I straight up put that on the 6. Whatever, that works. This is a little bit chaotic. I wasn't thinking on that guy, but now I need to start, as this is moving, have it angling back towards this first frame. I think 3 more. This one's gonna be off. Do you have any better cut than this? I think these are better. Or more similarly hole punched than the other ones. I can do blind contours again at some point. I just it takes a little bit more work on the front end of it because I have to ask for portraits and stuff, and I don't want to have it like an open call thing where I'm just acquiring them over time. But do it again at some point. I don't have a specific date in mind currently for more blind contour drawings, but I'll do them again. The last one. Oh, this is number 8. And these, I'm gonna have to check the numbers on all of these because these are a bit chaotic. Try to give like I'll post about it in the Discord if I do or when I do more blind contour drawing things, as well as on Instagram. Origami streams. I haven't established a hard thing for when I'm doing origami or not doing origami. If you do want to watch those in full, though, you can watch them on youtube.com/traceloops. I know it's not live and you can't engage with them directly, but I'm more likely right now to do origami on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Those are my more illustration days because I have less time to commit because I have obligations on those days. So it's more likely to fall on a Thursday, Saturday, or Sunday. Those are usually a little bit shorter of streams as well. That's why I have the origami as a thing. So I did one yesterday, which if you want to watch, you can find it as, I think, the second most recent video published on the Trace Loops YouTube page, the channel. Otherwise, I have the weekly schedule sort of generally. It should be. I thought I had my schedule. Can you look at the schedule here? Or do you have to just like go to the. Okay, yeah, if you go to my page, go to my channel here on Twitch, you can see schedule and it's listed out. It's also generally listed out on Discord. Oh, is it not detail? Oh no, that's just going backwards. Okay, sorry. I'm figuring out little bits of this here and there. And then on Discord I have it loosely listed out as well. That Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, animation, Thursday, some sort of illustration or something that's a little bit shorter form. And then Friday, animation, that's what you're here with today. Saturday, some sort of thing. So if you're free tomorrow, I can make a point to do some sort of origami thing. If you are free to watch around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. If you aren't free, I can avoid doing that. Or hold off on it and do some sort of other illustration. I'm not sure how quickly I'll get burnt out on the origami thing because it's a bit time consuming and there aren't an infinite number of origami forms that I like and work well for the process because it has to be somewhat simple of a form so that it has more defined areas. So I'm not sure the overall longevity of that. I might try to revisit it more. As time goes on. The animated letters was an easy thing because I could just continually sort of revisit it. And it had a set number of things. That worked okay, but origami, I'd have to spend a bit more time and effort. There's a little bit of initial startup stuff with that. Anything that takes a little bit more front-end work, I'm just slightly more hesitant to dive headfirst into. So that includes both the blind contours, because I have to acquire photographs from folks, and the origami, because I have to establish a figure and test it to make sure that it's not overly complex of a form to where the unfolded pattern is too difficult to really work with. Okay, so oh no, I'm not burnt out now. It's just because I'm doing this every day. There are certain things that if I were to do too much of, then I'd find some of those things happening, but to do it once, like doing it tomorrow. I can do one tomorrow and figure it out. Just as to why I'm hesitant to list it out as a thing. It's just me being not lazy, but trying to anticipate where I'll be with something after like a week of doing it, or 2 weeks of doing it, or 3 weeks, and the prep work that sometimes is involved in that. Be something of a burnt out experience, I don't know, but I do enjoy the origami process, and I think it's interesting and looks good and creates an interesting form. Yesterday I had a little less time because I was doing a more complicated cooking thing with my sister, and had to start at 5, and so I finished like right around 5, but I didn't. After that, whenever I finish these, I also take like 30 minutes to an hour to process the material that I have to post it to different places, and then actually posting it, and so I had to come back and do that later in the evening yesterday. And the origami thing, I have to record the form afterwards. After I fold it and stuff, then I set up my recording space to where I can photograph the thing, which means I have to take out my little turntable guy that spins so I can get a more engaging and sort of 360 thing of it. It's just a little turning guy, but there's just little things that I have to do that they aren't that much work, but in my mind I think of them as being more work. Let's see. Let's flip that. Or no, it's a new tape to go in. That's heavy. Bongo boys. Let's put some cowbell. And check the levels on this. I'm not sure if this is louder or quieter. That looks good. Okay. Now I get to... I want to do this as sort of like 2 sets of pace. So let's skip frame number 3. And what I want to do is sort of exaggerate this movement. Make it so it's, instead of being half a second, it's boom, 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 boom. I could try to visualize it with this cube. So it goes like boom, then boom, then boom, then boom. Using exact words, big words in science terms of boom, boom, boom. Now I want to do this. So if it's sort of animated twists and bits. Do you have any, Beatrice, do you have any sort of forms or origami things that you're curious about? Try to find a form that could be something you're interested in. This is 12. I think I just need to do this freehand without, or maybe a little perspective. Some shapes or some forms, objects, stuff like that. An animal, I can try to find things that are around it. Flowers, can't be too specific, and a lot of flowers get a little bit tapered, so you get some very thin edges, and I'd have to, I don't know, maybe if you suggest something, it'll force me to not go for the easiest option, but go for something that's a little bit more, I'd have to like solve a problem or something. Make sure that I have all the right frame numbers and stuff, because I'm doing this a bit chaotically. I don't think you can link anything in the Twitch chat, but if you wanted to try and link and the Discord server, you can get stuff going there. What did I order? I realized, oh, I ordered, it's got a notification that I have a package on the way, and I was like, what did I purchase? And last night when I was cooking stuff, the sieve that I was using, the mesh pulled out. It was just like a plastic sieve that had some like pressure to hold things in, and it wasn't doing a great job at that point in time. Wait, this isn't that. This is 12 or 13. This is number 13. But I think it's because I washed the sieve in the dishwasher too many times, and as a result, it got kind of broken and then pushed too hard when I was trying to clear some stuff through it that had too many small fibers, and as a result, broke it. Separated the mesh out from the container. Which made for a broken sieve. I really like drawing smears. Don't always make sense. But I like them. I like the fact that it's pretty, like, loose about it all. Number 9, number 10, and number 12. Better to do just sort of as this. I think I see more, or I think it's funnier when you're working with rotoscoping and you're trying to do like a direct copy of something moving fast and it gets super distorted and weird. But when it's playing back in regular time, it tends to work a little bit better. Or not regular, but when you're playing it back. Also, like with smears, that you can really affect the understanding of movement depending on how you smear and deform things, how much it changes the understanding. So what I'm trying to do here is have it be this leading edge, and then the top edge settles, and this bottom one is going to sort of follow through and go, so it twists a little bit at the bottom, so it's settling up top first, and it's still more distorted towards the bottom bit. And then we'll settle in more as it advances. This is not a very long animation. When I was doing the more sort of precise things at the front bit, I ended up not doing as much as I had sort of mentally anticipated, and so ended up with what will be a little bit faster of a motion, instead of it being like a thump, it'll be like a thump, 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 but distorted, and you can see the different sort of approaches to some of the motion elements. Excessive ink right there. Okay. What kind of frog is it? I can fold it, but I might have to readjust it. I did some test tiny frog right here. If you can throw it in the Discord, I think you can throw a link, or message me on Instagram or something. Yeah, this tiny frog. Let's see how that looks. Wherever you want to. You can do off topic, or sure, throw it in off topic, I guess, if that's where you're most comfortable with it. But wherever you put it, it's not so overwhelming in the chat right now that I need to keep it super organized. But I'll get more of that in the next bit of time. That one is where it starts to get a little bit weird, where I'll have to make it so the actual flattened out pattern, there are only sections of it that relate to the folded version of it, where there might be blank spaces to it. Still got to figure bits out. So one, I can go through the concept. I had the idea of trying to utilize this vending machine thing that I have, like a gumball toy machine. You put a quarter in and get some stuff. I bought it about a year ago with the intention of using it with have a studio space, and I had the intention of using it with an open studio where you have like a bunch of people come through and look at art, and it's just a lot of people in a small space. But it got canceled because of COVID stuff, rightfully so. Should not have happened. It didn't happen. So good stuff. But good stuff in that regard of like people not getting infected. But so I got it like the worst time was right before COVID was really taking over everything, and so I was like, maybe I could use it in live stream. I was trying to figure out ways to incorporate it, whether or not it's like if I have, it's something that requires more, again, front end work on my part. But would be a more engaging thing for viewers, potentially. But is that front end stuff? Kick out a little bit, wouldn't it? But figuring out things that I could put in there that would have that sense of randomness or happenstance that still has some sort of control over it. So more recently I was trying to think like I could make it so I had a bunch of origami figures in there. Let's twist them. This is the corner. It's going to be coming out here. Sorry. I'm thinking through how this actually would, if you had a thing where the bottom bit's twisting out, how it would physically manifest. And it would be that this is the furthest down thing. And twist out that way. Sorry. So I folded some tiny origami figures, something that could fit into that little space there. It's a 1-inch little capsule. What could fit into that form and relate to things? The idea being like, and today's is this guy, or having people's names in there or something, but I need to look over the specifics. That frog should work okay. I'll look back at it and fold it out. But have people's names, or like possibly I have two of the vending machine-ish things, and but I need to look at various things, like what Twitch's policy is for anything remotely related to gambling, because sometimes there are things that technically go against the platform's terms of service that you don't anticipate because you don't think about it being one thing, but Twitch also has a large number of younger people who are participating, and so gambling might be like completely out of the question for their terms of use and service or whatever. You can see it now. I can pull it up and do whatever with it. But having physicality of things is something that I like. I've seen people who have random like spinning wheels or stuff, but if it was just something like, if it's not something where it's a direct payment or something, things like that. If it were something like, if you're subscribed, then you can possibly win, like the thing that. So if it were origami, it would be like twist, twist, twist. Here's the origami for today, and who wins it? Twist, twist, twist. This person wins it, and then I'd send it and do that like once a week. It's stuff that I have loose ideas for, but actually bringing it into reality, I have to get some more work on that and figure out logistics, costs, stuff like that. Part of it came from seeing things where there's stuff where you can play like claw games online remotely, and then you get sent the prize. That's decent popularity in Japan, I think, or Korea, or maybe both, or I'm not sure, but having that sort of thing. I really like the physicality of those guys. And what else? Got a bunch of buttons, stuff like that. I have a button maker. And that can go to, I have a bigger one of these guys. Also, just the logistics of filling them and moving them around my room, and stuff like that. There's different things to be considered with using it, but I think I'm done with the outlining portion of this. I'll do this thing quick, where I showcase the stills, and then I'll come back and fill them in. But I might take a brief break in between to show you the actual like vending machine thing running. I'll have to do it with this camera because I can't fit it on the desktop easy, and it requires gravity to work, and to fit it on the, or to put it on the tabletop, I would need to put it horizontally, and then it wouldn't function, I don't think. It should be relatively fast to fill in because it's not super complex. There's also a coin shortage, or there was. I don't know how much that's persisted now, but about a year ago there was definitely a coin shortage of things. So let's see. This pops up. Okay, yeah, that's in there. This isn't super full. It takes a lot to fill these, number-wise. But in there. And little guy. I'll show you what this is in a second. When I got these, I went through different ideas of stuff that was relatively cheap that I could fit into a 1-inch, or like 1.25 inch acorn capsule is what they're called. And you can't see the detail of this, or wait. No, wait, this is actually better for this, if I can get this to focus. You can see my cuticle. Where's camera settings? Advanced. No autofocus. Let's get me blurry for a second. Get this guy in focus. Yeah. Little guy. These are architectural model. Like, I bought different glasses for these too. Like zooming in, guys. These are for, like, you can buy these by the hundreds. Relatively cheap, depends where you're getting them from and what kind. But they're for architectural models, so you can get a sense of scale. So you can buy them larger than those, get to be like 50 cents per item, which isn't what I was going for. I was going for something that would cost like a nickel or less per item, because the capsule itself costs like 5 to 10 cents, depends where you're buying it from and how many. And so the thing inside of it, if ideally it functions where like I'm not actively losing money on supplies. I'd be losing money if I'm incorporating cost of labor, no matter what, pretty much. But I was just painting these sort of faces onto those. But if you have a quarter machine, like, in my mind, like, it really needs to be a quarter to get that feeling going. So finding things that cost less than a quarter, don't feel like crazy cheap, but have some sort of personal, like, work on it. To have a custom thing that feels worthwhile, that costs less than 10 cents to produce, or at least just get the supplies for. Difficult to do. But little architectural model guides, you can buy them in decent numbers. Painting them was a little bit awkward because you have to get paint that will stick to plastic that doesn't bleed immediately. What I ended up using was enamel paint, and I used little squeeze bottles that you can buy and interlock blunt needles onto them. The best ones I found were ones that they were being advertised as being used to oil guns, because they had a softer plastic. You can get a tougher plastic that doesn't squeeze as nice. You have less control over. Those were cheaper to find and purchase, but sort of ultimately useless for what I was trying to do, which was squeeze out a continuous line of this moderately viscous enamel paint to draw fine lines in a consistent manner. I could try to do it on stream at some point, but it's really hard to record the process because it's tiny, and I don't have a macro lens for this overhead camera. I could do some version of stuff. It's also hard because working on something that's small, to keep it in focus and in frame, you have to keep it relatively still, and it's a lot to try and get things to where it's in focus and still and tiny, and it's a lot easier to like move things as you paint them so that you're sort of coordinating both your hands as opposed to keeping it completely still. And if I got some sort of mount, it might work better for that, but I like to move things as I work with them, so that doesn't do the best for that. Also, it means that you get to see that my hands look kind of gnarly at times. I was doing well for a while with not biting my nails, but with pandemic stress and just things in general, I got back to that habit. If I get nervous or something, then I start messing with my nails, and if I start messing with them, then like I gotta get rid of this thing here, and then I do, and then it means that it feels less even, so I want to mess with it even more, and it sort of just keeps going. But I can mess with that frog that you sent. It might be something that I sort of work around some parts of it, because it has looks like it has more of a rounded bit to some parts of it, so it might be that I fold it and then I outline the sections that are visible, because it looks like the back of the frog is kind of rounded, which means that it doesn't have like a harsh edge to it. It's not a hard fold, and so it's not as much like the blocky sort of stuff that I've been showing for the origami bits more recently. Let's see how this animates. I'm a little bit anxious about the faster moving twist bit. I think it's actually good that I would have established the quarter turn at a more predictable, more geometric, more rigid sort of motion, so that you're like, oh, this is the motion that it is in a more perfect sense, and then it goes ploop. There it animates faster and more cartoonish. And with that, you get to see, oh, that's what it is, that's what it is. There's a chance that this is going to be a little too quick of movement in general. Doesn't feel like it is, but has a possibility. The frog form that you sent doesn't have the thin, narrow pieces that that one does. The tiny guy that I showed. The tiny frog. Which is good. If you have the thin, almost spindly like pieces of it, then it's hard to either just leave those blank or fill them in solid or do some faces. There's some elements to figure out for that sort of design format. No. This is what I was using. Okay. Let me look at some different frogs. They're super simple ones, but I would want to do one that's a little bit more interesting than like crazy simple ones. It's also you want to look for ones that don't show the reverse of the paper too much. I already did one that was like a simple bird that I liked, that part of it does the reverse of the paper. Some of the more simple origami forms show both sides of the paper, and that either requires me to draw on both sides or to just be okay with some elements being hidden. Pull some of that bit out. Pardon me. Why did that stop playing? Okay, still go. That's what. It's a little bit loud. Thank you. Oh, you got a color change, it looks like. Okay. Alright, sorry. I got distracted. Getting closer to being done. Almost done. Got a couple more after this. Sometimes the tape catches me off guard. I think I'm going to paint these last two. I've got one more, and then I will flip the tape, or switch out the tape. I forget. I think wood block is the one that's left. Might have gotten delivered. I got a little cassette holder and some what do you call drywall anchors, so I can mount things on the wall. Said it was out for delivery. Not 100% sure if it would have been delivered, but delivery stuff is pretty much in order again. Okay, let that rest for a second and dry. And this is B, so I'm going to switch out tapes. Wood block. So, hey, I gotta turn this one down a little. This one I think is the loudest tapes I have. Let's check the volume levels. It's going. Some stuff. Okay. Doubled up on some stuff. This one's sticking. Yeah, it is. Okay. 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm gonna shift this down. Zoom that in, refocus. Brighten this up just a little bit. Make sure the focus is good. And let's set stuff up. Image capture. Show Canon LIDE 400. Don't use it custom size. It's going to be 5 Blockhead cube mesh scans. Copy that. Change this, save location, jump up, new folder, paste that, cut that out, folder, paste that in, choose that one, scan. This won't take too long to scan because it's only 18 of these. After I do this, I gotta process some stuff and then look at some emails. I just thought about trying to do the percentage in my head of what 18 is. I guess it could be... it's a sixth of a third. Can't be right. Can't be 5.55. Maybe it is. It is. It is 5.555555555%. 'That was easier math than I thought it was going to be for doing the division. I'm not going to actually go through the percentage, but we're just about halfway done with the scanning aspect of things. Just because 9 out of 18 is 50%. $55.555555555555555 percent. %, I think. 55 plus 55 is 111. Yeah. Or is it 62 point? I don't know. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me. Alright, scan. 2 more of these. I guess so. Is scanning 11? Yeah. Also, I think these are actually saving into the folder that I put as the destination. That it's not doing the weird thing where it puts them into a temporary folder. I don't know what causes that. It happens sometimes. But it's nice when it doesn't. So that I don't have to copy them over and then preemptively change the file name so that I don't have a duplicate file name. And remember that 00 is listed alphabetically after 0 for when I rename some of the files. Getting closer. This one might have some repositioning that's necessary, just because I'm using some scans or some stills that I might have been avoiding using because they weren't consistently cut / didn't have consistent hole punch locations. I got better with some things after time, but I have all of this leftover paper that I don't want to just get rid of. So, easier to, or prefer to use it, but it means that sometimes I have to readjust the positioning of elements of it. Alright, that's the last scan. I'll leave that flat for now. Now let's open this up. Rename these guys. Let's see how it goes. Okay, alright, Photoshop is open, and close out of this. Open up Photoshop, file scripts, load files into stack, browse, live designs, 5, click all these guys. Put them in order, start loading those up. We'll get this going. And let's count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sketches. 18 frames. Half and half. Today is the 5th. Blockhead cube animation 18 frames 9 sketches. Okay. Away. Alright, I'm gonna do something initially. Let's just get cropped down. And save these out. Wait, change the size. Saving these out for different purpose. Saving them so I can have stills, change the folder, map designs, date modified, 205, choose that spot. A little bit awkward in this little bit. How's that news? Sorry, I got a notification that was like a news for you. People are warning against having Super Bowl parties, and it's like, nah. Why would that be something that people wouldn't know not to do right now? Anyway, so is this 1080? You know what? I'm gonna make this a perfect square. Height 2636. Proceed. 1080. Nothing's getting cropped in a weird way. Cool. Curves. Let's make this a bit darker. A little bit of texture still. Now 0.0666. I guess a mark on the screen. Save this out as an animated GIF. Okay, this is good. Let's go on live designs. This one. That guy, jump back out. Toned out GIF. Nice fit, yep, okay. Let's mute that. Zoom this out so it looks a little nicer, or a little bit more varied. Readjust this exposure a tiny bit, and come to image, browse, jump to this guy, pull it out, get a moderate interstitial size. It's almost confusing how fast it moves the second time. But I like doing a basic sort of format thing. It probably shouldn't have quite as exaggerated of a top bit. Like it shouldn't be quite as tall in the middle, a little bit less exaggerated there, but as far as the general sort of motion, the only other thing I might have done with this is it doesn't settle so much with this little corner bit here. I should have had it go like 2 to 3 more frames, so that it would settle and then advance instead of settle and immediately sort of start moving again. But So much easier doing smears than rigid things. Anyway, there's a cube for you. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. A little bounce. There's a tiny bit of a bounce there, but I got a little lazy towards the end. So here goes spiel stuff. If you want to purchase the stills from this, stills from other animations, shirts with this design or other designs on it, as well as other merchandise, you can go to traceloops.com/store and buy those things there. If you are shipping outside of the US, you'll need to contact me directly. There's not an option on the site directly, but you can purchase anything there and I can ship it to you. It'll be a little bit more expensive because of shipping costs, but if you want to contact me, you can contact me whichever way you want to, but the best way is emailing me, traceloops@traceloops.com. If you want to watch this live stream in full, it's been recorded, and I will be uploading it shortly to youtube.com/traceloops. There you can also find previous live streams. There's like 60 plus of them now, from when I was doing Instagram lives, and then now I've been doing, I think I hit at least like 30 Twitch streams that are a little bit better formatted and better recorded. You can watch those things there. If you want to follow me on other platforms, you can follow me on instagram.com/traceloops. You can also follow me on tiktok.com/@traceloops. And I'm going to have to copy this over because I lose track of it. Copy this over. You can join my Discord server, which is pretty new, and I'm still establishing it, but there's a link for that if you're interested in that. You'll have general reminders that I'm going live, links to specific things when they come out, and if you have any questions, you can address them there, but still better to contact me for buying things and having them shipped outside of the US. Better to do that through email, just because I'll eventually need your address and some personal information in order to ship it out, and I'd rather not have that in a semi-public forum. So, thank you all for watching. Tomorrow, the plan is to unfold, outline, draw in a copy of, scan, an origami thing tomorrow. Which now I guess I can show you like what yesterday's was. I'm gonna stop recording, so this will cut out now for the recorded version on YouTube, but I'll jump back and keep talking for a second.